The President of the United States just had a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. He is speaking right now. Let's listen in.
About joining your board of peace.
We didn't discuss that.
Do you want
What do you expect from
We
the
didn't
meeting
discuss
tonight?
that.
Why
You should accept the charge, Mr. President.
And how does the meeting go? I mean, you've obviously been
I think
working
the
on this
meeting
meeting.
was good. I think the meeting with President Zelensky was good. It's an
What do you mean by total access in Greenland? What do you mean, President?
What do you get the deal today?
We'll have to see what happens.
What do you mean by
We're meeting
total
with Russia. We're meeting with Russia. That'll take place tomorrow. They're going to be meeting with President Putin. I had a very good meeting with President Zelensky. Everybody wants to have the war end.
On your board of access, President Trump, are you disappointed that major traditional allies have not joined yet, President Trump?
In Ukraine. Did you get what you wanted on Ukraine?
All right, so that was President of the United States. A few moments. Good meeting with Zelensky. They didn't bring up the fact that he was invited to the Board of Peace and had some questions on it. Let's bring in, as you know, let's bring in Doug Burgum. And Doug Burgum joins us right now. And Doug, you know, Mr. Secretary, that with the President of the United States, you never know when he's going to speak. He likes to keep people informed about what's going on. So he just met with President Zelensky, but earlier he had announced as a board of peace. Got 20 people aboard in person, 36 overall. Your thoughts about what it could achieve? Because in the backdrop, he withdrew from 66 other international organizations, mostly associated with the UN.
Well, yes, Brian, I mean, the UN in many ways, if it's about, was formed to begin peace on the world, it's been a failure, an epic failure. And even in the last 4 years, you can see that under President Biden, whether it's Russia, Ukraine, the Iran funding 24 different terror groups, so much of the United States funding the United Nations, and then the United Nations not just taking votes against the U.S., but actually funding programs were anti-American. So President Trump, as he said a year ago when he took office, that he was going to be focusing on America first, and that means don't fund organizations that are actually our adversaries. And so the Board of Peace is an opportunity to essentially strike a new path with people that want the same things that the United States wants, which is people want peace, they want prosperity.
So the New York Times is reporting in the deal with Greenland that the U.S. will get sovereignty over small pockets of Greenland from military bases. He expanded it out with Maria Bartiromo moments ago. Watch.
We will have everything we want. We're getting everything we want at no cost.
So the Golden Dome will be on Greenland?
A piece of it, yes, and it's a very important part because it's everything comes over Greenland. If the bad guys start shooting, it comes over Greenland. So we knock it down. It's pretty infallible. It's amazing. You know, Ronald Reagan had the idea a long time ago, but we didn't have any technology at that point. The concept was great, but there was no technology. Now we have unbelievable technology. I mean, virtually 100%.
So what are we talking about? An acquisition of Greenland? Are you going to pay for it? I mean,
we're talking about it. It's really being negotiated now, the details of it, but essentially it's total access. It's there's no end. There's no time limit.
And then the White House put out this statement. If this deal goes through, and President Trump is very hopeful it will, the U.S. will be achieving all of its strategic goals with respect to Greenland, little cost. Forever Trump is proving once again he's a deal maker. As details are finalized, all parties, they'll be released accordingly. What could you tell us, Mr. Secretary? Anything to add to this?
Well, I just want to say again, no one should be surprised. President Trump is the deal maker in chief. And what we're achieving here is so strategic for both for U.S. security, for North America, Greenland, part of North America. And President Trump understands history. He understands how important it was that we got Alaska. When we acquired Alaska, everybody thought that was, again, Seward's folly. There was only 33,000 people living in Alaska. Now there's 750,000. And as you know, Brian, it's a mineral and energy powerhouse, as well as the front line of security with us, with Russia on that part of the Arctic. Greenland, the same thing. It's the bookend. President Trump's so right.
Gotcha.
Missiles coming over, they would be going over Greenland. Right now, China is there building, quote, weather stations. They're not weather stations. China could roll in there and do with their Belt and Road Initiative or their Polar Silk Initiative, and they could end up with moving 20,000 people to live there. So we have to move quickly on Greenland. It's important.
All right. So, Mr. Secretary, real quick on Greenland, you know rare earth minerals and the extraction and refinery process. What could we do there? Do we have the equipment to go through the ice in order to extract the rare metals?
Well, I mean, the key thing for Greenland is national security. That's number one. And of course, we've got rare earth minerals around on U.S. public lands. We have them in U.S. private lands. We've got them in undersea in places like American Samoa. We have all kinds of places where Alaska, where we can pull up minerals. We just need to make sure that we get back in the mining industry. This is an industry that was wiped out in America by a regulation, strangulation by regulation, and we've got to get back. We've got to get back into the ability to build great things here. We've got to break the stranglehold that China has on critical minerals. President Trump is committed to doing that. The actions that we're taking, moving at the speed we're making right now, is going to put us in that place. Greenland could be on the table down the road, but Greenland's key thing is national security and Golden Dome.
I can't imagine the president doing a deal and not doing something for rare earth, just knowing him. Meanwhile, because it is national security, President Trump is going to be visiting Iowa. I saw what Susie Wiles, the chief of staff, said. The president's going to act like it's 2024 again. It's good because he feels if he's on the ballot, Republicans have a shot of winning. He's going to focus on energy and the economy, the message.
Well, the message is that President Trump understands is you can't separate energy from the economy any more than you can separate energy from national security. And what President Trump has been able to do, a complete turnaround, driving prices down. We've got states where gas is under $2 a gallon on an inflation-adjusted basis. That is way down from when Biden took over. But it is, and in energy, it's a component of the food you eat, the clothes on your back, the car you drive, the home you heat. And part of the message that has to get out is energy prices right now are varying by state. If you've got high electric prices, you're living in a state almost certainly that had a bunch of policies that were focused around the Green New Scam as opposed to affordable, reliable, secure U.S. energy. And we've got places in America that have got very low prices. Some have gotten high because of high taxes. So the message has to get out. President, if you've got high energy prices today or high electric prices, it's because of the decisions that were made in your state legislature by your state governor, and almost certainly those are blue states, not red states, that have those high prices.
Mr. Secretary, you have so many areas of expertise. That's why you're like this Swiss Army knife of this administration. Thanks so much for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Brian.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.